Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a seriously chilling case file. It's a psychological and paranormal breakdown that's going to challenge literally everything you think you know about reason, reality, and the human mind. We're looking at the infamous Room 333 at London's Langham Hotel. Now, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill ghost story. Oh no, it is a meticulously documented descent into madness, a place where strict logic just goes to die. I am so pumped to unpack this for you today, so let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. The whole source material really hinges on one massive question. What actually happens when a strict believer in logic steps into the world's most haunted room? I mean, we all like to think that if we're armed with rationality, empirical evidence, and, all our modern tech, we're totally safe from things that go bump in the night. But what this narrative explores is the absolutely terrifying vulnerability of that exact mindset. So let's take a look at the setting that breaks all that logic apart.
Section 1. The Legend of Room 333. Let's look at the truly terrifying reputation of London's ultra-luxurious Langham Hotel.
So, the Langham isn't some creepy, abandoned cabin out in the woods somewhere. It's this famously luxurious, antique establishment, always buzzing with high society. But scratch beneath that plush surface, and there is a deeply ugly secret. For decades, guests and staff have whispered about the third floor. The bloody history anchoring this whole case file involves a doctor and his wife who checked in for their honeymoon, but they never checked out. Legend has it the doctor brutally murdered his wife right inside room 333, and then he took his own life. Ever since that horrific night, people say the doctor's tormented spirit just wanders that exact room, completely trapped in a loop of his own violent making.
Section 2. Enter the Skeptic. Annie's investigation.
This brings us to our protagonist, Annie. She's a 25-year-old British journalist, and her entire career is literally built on debunking the paranormal. She goes to haunted places, shoots documentaries, and systematically proves that ghosts are just, faulty wiring or a weird draft. And this sets up our core conflict perfectly. In one corner, we've got Annie, super logical, highly reliant on modern tech, a total skeptic. In the other corner, Room 333, Victorian, steeped in a bloody curse, and completely irrational. Annie thinks her modern, evidence-based worldview is like an impenetrable shield against the hotel's dark past. But as you'll see, that shield is incredibly fragile.
The very second Annie gets into the room, what's her first move? She goes straight for her tech. Step 1, set up the tripod. Step 2, mount the camera. Step 3, connect the microphone. Systematically and efficiently. She is so meticulous about this gear setup. And hey, we all know that cozy feeling of safety a fully charged battery gives us, right? She genuinely thinks she's untouchable. Every single piece of equipment she locks into place just builds this massive false sense of security. She figures if I can observe it and record it, I can control it.
Section 3. A chilling arrival. The hotel's atmosphere was actively working against her from the jump, starting right at check-in with the receptionist's frozen smile and being handed a heavy, antique physical key instead of a normal, modern key card.
The source material really dives into the sensory details of that third floor, and I want you to picture this with me. She steps off the elevator into just total isolation. The corridor is lined with these old, faded paintings that feel like they're staring right down at her. The wall lamps are giving off this sickly, dim yellow light, throwing these deep, elongated shadows everywhere. The floorboards are ticking and groaning under this uncleaned carpet. And when she finally makes it to room 333, her hand wraps around a heavy brass door handle that is just unnaturally, piercingly cold.
All right, now that she's inside, let's map out the pacing of this night. The escalation here is crazy fast. In the evening, it's just arrival and setup. She orders a simple sandwich, sits by the fireplace, does some internet research, normal stuff. But as we push deeper into the night, reality just starts to fracture. At midnight, there's a bizarre incident with a butler, and then at 1 a.m., the true terror hits with the mirror attack. Let's walk through these turning points because, fair warning, things are about to go horribly, horribly wrong.
Section 4. The Midnight Delivery. A mysterious knock at the door.
So, Annie had been totally absorbed in her laptop by the fireplace. There's this November chill creeping into the room, even with the fire going, and eventually she dozes off. But then, her sleep is suddenly shattered by a heavy knock at the door. She's disoriented, she waits a beat. The knock comes again, and through the thick wood of that door, a man's voice calls out incredibly calmly, "Your room service, madam." Now keep in mind, Annie ordered a sandwich hours ago. It was already delivered, she already ate it, she shouldn't be getting any visitors at all. Confused and figuring it's just a mix-up, she checks the people. Standing out there is a butler, holding a tray covered by a massive, domed lid.
She opens the door and politely protests. She tells the guy, "Hey, I didn't order anything else." But the butler just insists it's for her. He doesn't say another word. His hand just reaches out, grabs the handle of that large lid, and he slowly lifts it up. And, well, we really have to ask, given the gruesome history of this exact room, what in the world was waiting for her under that lid? Resting right there on the silver platter was her own severed head. It is an absolutely staggering jump scare. The source describes Annie just letting out this primal, terrified scream, completely squeezing her eyes shut against the horror of it. But when she snaps her eyes open just a fraction of a second later, the butler is gone, the tray is gone, the corridor is completely, entirely empty. Just absolute dead silence.
Total panic sets in. She slams the door shut and immediately scrambles for her technology, her ultimate safety net, right? Well, let's check the status of those devices. So the crucial point is this. Her camera? The SD card is totally corrupted. Her voice recorder? Blank. It didn't catch the knock, it didn't catch the butler's voice. Literally, the only audio on the tape is the sound of the door opening, a brief pause, and then her own blood-curdling scream. Her logic, her evidence, her trusty tech, it has completely and utterly failed her.
Section 5. Trapped in the mirror. This is where we hit the climax.
Things are breaking down fast now. The temperature in room 333 just plummets. It is freezing. Desperate, confused, and just trying to anchor herself back to reality, Annie backs into the bathroom to splash some cold water on her face. The clock hits exactly 1 a.m. There is this heavy, dead silence hanging in the air. Dripping with water, she slowly lifts her head to look at her reflection in this huge antique Victorian full-length mirror on the wall. Except, she isn't the only one in the reflection.
Standing directly behind her in the glass is something straight out of a nightmare. The source lays out the visuals with horrifying clarity. He's wearing these torn, decaying Victorian clothes. His face is literally rotting away, showing the skull underneath. He has these impossibly long, sharp nails reaching right for her neck. And his eyes, these piercing, glowing yellow eyes just locked onto hers. Terrified, she violently spins around, but the bathroom behind her is totally empty. She lunges for the door, grabbing the dark, polished wood, but it won't even budge. She's locked in.
The physical room completely turns against her. The lights in room 333 start flickering wildly. And in the crazy strobe of the failing electricity, that pale, decaying man, he isn't just in the mirror anymore. He is in the room. He is slowly, methodically coming right at her. Driven to absolute pure terror, Annie just starts letting out these frantic, blood-curdling screams for help that echo all the way down the empty halls of the Langham.
Okay, now we get to what is easily the most brilliant and disturbing twist in this entire explainer. Hotel staff, hearing the screaming, finally managed to break down the heavy door and they burst into the room. But they didn't find a ghost. There was no Victorian man with yellow eyes. What the staff actually saw was Annie. Her face was embedded with broken glass, and she was screaming in agony as she violently smashed her own head into the bathroom mirror. The staff manages to subdue and sedate her, and later, she wakes up in the hotel's medical room. She's frantically trying to explain that this rotting entity was grabbing her by the neck, forcing her head into the glass. But it's what the hotel staff reveals next that permanently seals this case file. They tell her the dark truth about the curse. Decades ago, when that doctor murdered his wife in room 333, he didn't use a knife or a gun. He killed her the exact same way, by repeatedly smashing her head into that very same mirror. The entity didn't just attack Annie, it possessed her mind, forcing her to recreate the hotel's darkest tragedy. The story of Annie's night at the Langham leaves us in a really unsettling place. Sure, she survived, but the fierce skepticism that basically defined her entire life, that was completely shattered right alongside that mirror. And it leaves all of us with this final provocative thought. We build these massive fortresses out of logic. We surround ourselves with cameras and recorders to make sense of the world. But when you are suddenly face to face with the true, irrational depths of the unknown, if logic and technology can't save you, what will? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.